Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, let's get back to Iraq because the news just continues to get better and better. So JP Morgan strengthens 5 Iraqi banks. Signs of a breakthrough in a dollar crisis, Washington offers limited facilities for foreign remittance. So again, it's another article with some really good news, and I'll explain as we go along here. A government source said on Saturday that the negotiations took place during the past days between the central bank and the American side to facilitate procedures for foreign transfers, while referring to an agreement to strengthen the advance balance of 5 Iraqi banks in dollars through JP Morgan. If Iraq has to start sending their dinars to banks in other countries so they can start officially doing international trade with one another, this is going to be very, very good for the Iraqi dinar. Intensive meetings took place in Abu Dhabi in the past few days between the delegation from the Central Bank of Iraq and the U.S. side responsible for foreign transfers to cover imports. See what I'm talking about? I can't stand the fact that it seems like they always have to get permission from the U.S. to do things. The negotiations culminated in a number of decisions and mechanisms that contribute to facilitating procedures for foreign transfers related to imports through the foreign currency sale window. It was agreed to strengthen a pre-balance of 5 Iraqi banks and their dollar accounts with Jordanian banks and remittances through JP Morgan. Problems with rejected transfers were resolved, and it was agreed that the rejection of transfers was based on strong reasons. Other meetings brought together one of the UAE banks, the Central Bank of Iraq, and the American side to implement the mechanisms of enhancing balances in the UAE dirham for Iraqi banks, UAE dirham pilot. So UAE is going to start doing transfers with Iraq. So that means Iraqi dinars go to UAE and UAE sends their dirhams over to Iraq. That's why it's so important for countries to build up their foreign currency reserve. And this is going to help do that. All technical details have been resolved, and the mechanism of enhancing balances of the UAE dirham is expected to begin within the next few days. There are serious negotiations that have reached their final stages to strengthen the balances of some Iraqi banks in euros. So you see what they're doing is all these countries that they're going to start doing trades with, they're already adding to their foreign asset reserve. So this is good because as they bring in these countries' currencies to Iraq, Iraq then sends them Iraqi dinars. So you have euros, you have the dirhams, looks like the Chinese yuan are all being added. This is very good. Opening accounts for 6 Iraqi banks in this bank, and during the coming period, 7 other banks will be added to finance Iraq's trade and imports from China, where those imports are estimated to be worth $12 billion annually. This mechanism is expected to contribute to financing Iraq's imports from India, especially medicine and food, which are estimated at $3 billion. Good job, Iraq. Finally, get it together. In addition to that, look at this. Iraq reaches an agreement to resume Kurdistan oil production within 3 days. So, at least it's planned. It was planned before. We'll see. We won't count our chickens until they hatch. The central bank achieves one of the basic goals of monetary policy in 2023. It's like every day, the good news just keeps on coming. Hopefully it doesn't stop. Let's continue with the good roll here, Iraq, and get it together. Mostly for your people, but I'm sure us people invested in the Iraqi dinar wouldn't mind if some good news came our way neither. The objectives of the monetary policy of the central bank are to achieve economic growth and stability, and one of the primary objectives is to reduce inflation rates and stabilize the prices of goods and services in very complex economics, security, and political conditions in 2023 that the world is going through, especially the countries of the geographical region in which our country is affected negatively and positively. Our economy has suffered from these conditions for decades, and the reason is the rentier economy and the dependence of 93% as an average of the general budget on oil, which constitutes approximately 60% of their GDP, while the active economic sectors, which are agriculture, constitutes only 4.7%, and industries do not exceed 2%. These are indicators that has led to the lack of local production covers the consumption needs of the citizens for food and other basic materials. Therefore, the reliance was almost entirely on imports for the private commercial sector and from various origins. Successive governments were unable to control internal trade and regulate foreign trade, and control over illicit trade and unofficial border crossing. And unofficial border crossing was weak, which led to the impact of the monetary and commercial markets, and the price of foods and essential items for citizens rose at high rates during the years 2021 and 22. Therefore, this indicator was the most prominent challenge facing the monetary policy and directly affected the stability of the exchange rate, which led to the central bank to take many measures in cooperation with the government in 2023 to regulate foreign trade and controlling external transfers and regularity in the global financial and banking system by developing the electronic platform and working to prepare and launch a new strategy for banking reform and classification in all its basic links at the level of internal and external banking transactions, the most prominent of which is securing the US dollar for large and registered merchants and for every merchant, regardless of its classification, at the official rate via the platform exclusively helped reduce prices for most food and essential items within balanced rates commensurate with their prices in the global commercial market, in the country of origin, and in the markets of most regional countries. This was achieved through analyzing the indicators of the annual inflation rate for the year 2023, which was published by the central bank in comparison with the annual inflation rate for the year 2022 achieved in Iraq and in regional countries, as it is clear from official data that the annual inflation rate reached 4.4 in 2022 and 3.7 in 2023. So those inflation rates are not bad at all. That's what I said. Iraq has always had very good control over their inflation rates. And most other countries where unstable economies have reached very high rates of inflation. Recent percentage in Turkey was 80.2%. Dang! In Sudan it was 117%, and Iran it was 40%. In the Arab countries with relative economic stability in Tasmania, Algeria, and Morocco, 9.3%, 9%, and 5% respectively. And in Egypt, it reached 37.4%. And ranged in the Gulf countries with stable and oil-rich economies, the range is between 2.4 and 4.8%. So the Gulf-enriched countries were able to maintain pretty good inflation rates. This confirms beyond doubt that the central bank's strategy and procedures during this year achieved one of the basic goals of monetary policy, which is reducing the rate of inflation and maintaining the general level of commodity prices and services, and he is currently working to achieve other goals, which are stabilizing the exchange rate and maintaining a foreign reserve covering the local currencies in circulation and imports, which exceed $100 billion. So the economic results and outcomes confirm that the policies and procedures undertaken by the central bank this year have achieved an important goal of achieving stability in the monetary system, which is an important step in achieving the other goals of monetary policy. There you have it. It's saying that they have finally achieved stability in the monetary system. Cha-ching, check that box. A stable country, a stable government, a stable currency. Just make little boxes and check them off as you go along. I haven't been this excited about Iraq in a long time. I remember in 2019, they were really striving, making great steps, and then everything kind of fell apart. And then we had the whole RONA thing took place, and it just seemed like they could not get their head above water. But this past year, everything is looking pretty good. It's exciting to hear this news, but I'm not going to get overly hyped. I'm going to stay grounded. But it is looking very, very good. Anyways, that's it for now. I look forward to hearing from you. I'll catch you later. I'm out.